Today, I've been thinking a lot about desire. And, Sadhguru would say that desire is life and life is desire, that life wants to live. And he'll say this funny thing about if you don't think that your body wants to live, just hold your nose for a few minutes and eventually you're going to want to take a breath, whether you think you will or not. And he'll talk about how the mind can be filled with all kinds of ideas about what it wants or what it thinks it wants or what it thinks desire is. But that desire is something very particular. And it's a will. It's a kind of will that isn't necessarily connected to the mind. Just think of a New Year's resolution. I mean, I've made tons of those over the years. You can't think your way through desire. You can only feel desire. And you can't, and not feel it in an emotional sense. Desire is not an emotion either. It's not a longing or a craving or any other kind of compulsive or potentially compulsive action. I mean, you can desire a drink, you can desire a drug, you can desire all kinds of things that aren't good for you. But desire, in the sense of what it is to desire to live and what it is to desire to create, is something beyond the mental and emotional capacity that we have. And this is a little weird and hard for people in the Western world to understand, that what is the nature of true desire. So true desire, let's just call that the life wants to live. And life is living itself through us. So therefore, desire really is about wanting to live. And so when we talk about creative fulfillment, which I distinguish between creative achievement, so you can achieve creativity, but to actually be fulfilled by it is a completely different thing. And I put that in this principle of desire. So let's say you have a real desire in your soul, in your heart, and your thoughts, everywhere, your whole self. You know that you want to create. Maybe you want to be a painter, a dancer, a writer, whatever it is that you really feel is this thing that's yearning inside of you. It's a still and deep, quiet certainty, this desire, but it's really, really intense. So what I find that goes wrong with myself and watching students and other coworkers for over 30 years in various creativity fields is that desire goes wrong in two ways. Either the desire that we have is not actually quite right. So we have a desire, we tell ourselves mentally that this is what the desire is, but it never seems to happen because there's a disconnect between what we think the desire is and what the actual desire is. So we just aren't aligned. Our mind is not aligned with the true nature of the will that we feel inside. And the other thing that can go wrong is we do identify with this yearning, this true desire. We do have a natural true desire, but we're blocked somehow. And so something isn't flowing, something isn't open, something is collapsing and preventing this will of creativity or this desire, this true desire to come to form. And so we end up with a yes and a no inside. And whenever we have a yes and a no, there's a conflict. Here's a simple example of this. So let's say that I really want to be an artist. I want to make art and show it in galleries. But I believe that all artists starve, and I don't think it's possible, that there's not enough for all the artists in the world, that there's just not enough in the world. And so I won't ever have it. I can't have this thing that I desire. So here's the no, is this belief structure that I absolutely can't have it, but then there's this innate structure that I absolutely want it, and you can't have both of those coexisting. So I would tell myself in the past, this is one of my problems, I would tell myself in the past that, logically, there isn't enough, that painters starve, artists have a difficult time. But I don't need to take on what is true for every single artist in the world. I only need to take on what's true for me. And so I have to believe in it utterly myself in order for it to be possible. So I have to have a yes, yes, for this true desire to start to happen and become willing to do whatever it takes to have it. Now, there's another part where people fall off. I really, really want to be a painter, but I'm not willing to live in a hovel. I really, really want to be a painter, but I want to take that vacation in Europe. So there's a lot of elements that go into why desire doesn't work. But the first thing is to be sure that we're working towards the right desire. And once we're working towards the right desire, then we have to figure out what all the blocks and limits are that are preventing that thing from coming into view. Because once our desire is pure and unfiltered through any kind of mental or emotional noise inside of us, we're unstoppable. We're just unstoppable. Of course, that means that we need to be willing to accept whatever form this thing shows up in. But in the end, if we're willing to go to any length to clear ourselves out and be available to our truest desire, and we're able to accept how that manifests in our life, the fulfillment that we'll feel is amazing. And so I ask you, do you want to use your creativity, or do you want to be fulfilled by your creativity? That's two different things.